So, as we're getting started with our second panel discussion tonight on accelerating game development, I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Olivia Liddell, a solutions architect at AWS in our games team. I've been at AWS for about 4 years now. I work with startup studios, so this topic of cloud game development is something that comes up a lot in my customer conversations. For those of you who may be new to the topic of cloud game development, that can encompass topics such as virtual workstations, CI/CD pipelines, version control, some fun mixture of all of that here. So we've got 30 minutes together for this panel, and I want to start by introducing, can we give a round of applause for our panelists here first? Y'all are excited, okay. I felt the roar here. So we're going to start by introducing our panelists here. For each of you, please state your name, let us know what you do at your studio, and maybe share 1 or 2 games that your studio has worked on.
Sure, so I'll go first. My name is Alex Carberry. I'm currently at Epic Games. I've been at Epic Games for 8 years now. Many of you probably know us for Fortnite, but before that, Paragon, Unreal Tournament, Unreal Engine itself. Right now, in my time at Epic, I've been in many different roles. But right now, I'm leading the engineering effort in our developer productivity space, trying to help facilitate rapid iteration across our developers, content creators, and generally developers across the company. That includes, like Olivia mentioned, build farm, CI/CD, virtual workstation, studio and cloud implementations, and workload acceleration tools.
Cool. Hi, name's Nick. I'm the CTO co-founder of Sprocket Games. It's a 15-people small startup, so not Epic size. I wear a lot of hats because there's only 15 people. So I do build, I do IT, I do development. And prior life, I was at Riot Games doing backend, and before that, at CCP Games doing backend as well.
I'm Brent Lamb. I am a technical producer at Cryptic Studios. At Cryptic Studios, we're known for doing Neverwinter, Star Trek Online, lots of MMOs. I work on the back end mostly. I work with the software teams to help with development, keep it on track, find the right tools and solutions for our development teams to work with speeding up the development process within the studio.
Hi, my name is Jose Villeta. I'm the technical director for Avalanche Software and Warner Brothers. I've been making games for a long time, over 30 years, but the most recent game was Hogwarts Legacy. It's a game that we did for cross-platform, and the area that I worked on our studio primarily, I have the tools and workflows and pipeline team, plus also the story cinematic team as well.
Hey, thank you all. So to give some context as we get into this discussion, there's 3 partners in particular that you'll hear discussed during this conversation, and those will be Perforce, Incredibuild, and JetBrains, who have brought us Team City. So if we can give a round of applause for those 3 partners in particular. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with Alex first. I know that for many studios, including many of you here who are starting to think about your journey into cloud game development, you're starting to wonder why it is that other studios have done that. So, Alex, can you share why Epic took that approach?
Sure. I forget, someone in the last panel mentioned it, but in game development, iteration is absolutely key. You have to be able to create content, build it, deploy it, test it, and then iterate again very, very rapidly. And so that was really the key driver for us. We began our movement to the cloud, right, to facilitate game development workflows back in 2019. And we started with our build farm. We were resource constrained on-prem. We were starting to deal with a more distributed global workforce. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so we were running into a lot of challenges having to manage our own infrastructure. And so by moving to the cloud and by moving really everything to the cloud, we were able to iterate a lot more rapidly, run a lot more automated jobs, automated tests, and just facilitate our global workforce in a way we hadn't been able to do before.
Thank you. Yeah, you're bringing up a lot of things that I know that many studios have wrestled with, this question of what's going to be the most beneficial for people who need to do the development. And there are so many concerns that have to be factored into that. Nick, what were some of the reasons why your team decided to take a cloud-based approach?
Well, we're an all remote team. So for us, it was a perfect fit to go full cloud from the start when we started 2 years ago. We're chasing the same efficiency as you, which is iteration speed. We're early in our prototype efforts. And so being able to scale out into AWS, we're also Team City users. So we use all the partners, it seems. Being able to iterate quickly, make those build fast, get them in front of designer eyes so they can decide if they're making the right thing or the wrong thing or how they should change it is really critical. And since we're full remote, yeah, it just is perfect for us to live in the cloud fully.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so you're taking inventory of what your situation is and seeing, well, if there's a fully remote or even some partial remote, a lot of things can run in the cloud. And I know in my experience seeing customers I work with, there's often a lot of buy-in, but sometimes the customers and their end users can be a little bit more reluctant. And so that's why I think going into our next question, it can be helpful for us to consider what some of these benefits are of cloud game development. So, Brent, would you be able to talk a bit about what are some of the benefits that you and your team have seen for cloud game development and working with partners?
I think one of the biggest things that we saw is bringing the data closer to the users. Games aren't small. Game assets aren't small. So being able to bring it closer to the users and distribute it across, the country, even possibly the world if you need to, is one of the biggest benefits. Another one that I like to talk about is, when everything's on premise, everything's coming through one VPN connection into the office. And that goes down, you're down. So being able to rely on a larger infrastructure with more redundancy is also one of the big key points that helps.
Thank you for sharing that. Jose, what have been some of the benefits you've seen with your team, especially as it comes to benefits from working with AWS partners for cloud game development?
Since our game is really produced by a lot of developers and they're worldwide, we have over 500 developers in Australia, the West Coast, the East Coast, UK. It was really important that we make sure that especially Perforce replicas and H servers were available worldwide. And it was very easy to stand up, very easy to get going and making sure that the Perforce access was, made available to all the studios. We have studios that are different time zones. So imagine Australia guys are waking up and you're going to bed in the other time zone. So being able to be a worldwide solution was really important for us. So we say that's one of the key on it. And then the other thing that is probably important is about documentation and things in the cloud. It was important for us to make sure that all the services are very reliable and maintainability is low. So that means that you can actually put all the services in the cloud and you know that there's a very good uptime, service levels agreement. So that's really good. So make sure that everything, the uptime is great. Perforce is available to all our users at any time, so we can have time to sleep too, and then have other people do the work and then work.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I know this idea of uptime is so important for team members, and also just having this sense of trust with knowing that you're working with teams and partners who have been through this before, and that you have that expertise that comes with it. Yeah. So another thing that I know that comes up a lot in my conversations with customers, they often will ask me, Olivia, so you're a solutions architect. You talk to customers all day long. What advice would you give us for what to do? And I think in my mind, I have all these conversations and I can try to pull out one piece of advice here and there, but I never like to speak on behalf of other people. So that's why I'm going to ask you all to share your advice in this case. So in this context, what I want you to think about is, for any game studios who are starting this journey and they're seeing, well, from this last panel that we had, thinking about working with a partner seems like a fantastic idea. I've been talking with people at these booths. That seems great. Alex, what would be some advice that you would give to game studios who are brand new to the idea of working with an AWS partner?
Sure. I think the key is they're going to bring a lot of knowledge and experience to the table. And we're sitting up here talking about using the cloud to facilitate accelerated cloud game development, and we make it sound easy, but it really is challenging, right? Taking your workloads that you developed on-prem, use cases in the hardware you've had on-prem, and there are things that need to change to effectively utilize the cloud. And so, yeah, just talking through how is your product designed for the cloud, right? How do you expect us to take advantage of things like dynamic scaling, spot instances, multi-region availability? Those are all things that you really should factor in quickly. We've worked with Incredibuild quite a lot, actually. When we first moved up into AWS and our build farm, we had challenges with cost and using static resources to augment our development workflow. And so we actually were able to work with Incredibuild to develop their cloud core dynamic scaling capabilities. And now that's been an absolutely massive benefit to us, both on the performance and the cost side. So I've got stories about Perforce as well, but I don't want to eat up all of the time. So yeah, I just coming back to kind of the beginning point, right? Talk to them. They're going to have experiences. They're going to be able to help you optimize your workflows to work best in the cloud.
Thank you. Great. Nick, I've got the same question for you, but I'm going to reword it in a way that's similar, but we'll see. So another way we can think about this that I also hear from customers is if I or other customers who've gone through this journey could go back in time and tell themselves, here's some advice. Here's what I wish that I knew in the beginning when I first started working with AWS partners. What would I tell myself then? So what would you say for that?
It's a good question. Ask for help is the number one thing. It echoes what you just said. There are so many people that are ready to help you inside all the partners. And we use all but Incredibuild so far for Sprocket. We use Incredibuild at Riot, but yeah. Ask for help. Don't wait. Start early, start small. If you have on-prem infra, it will be a big shock to transition. Sprocket didn't have to go through that, obviously, so we just jumped into the cloud. But, do those kind of tech allow you to run experiments pretty easily, try things out. They don't work. That's okay. You could try something different. So yeah, start small, do many experiments, and reach out for help as much as you can, for sure.
For our next question, Brent, I'm going to throw this one over to you. So thinking along these lines of giving advice, we've talked a little bit about advice that we would give to customers who are new to working with partners. Now I want us to expand this out a bit. So I know many studios here that I've been talking with this week at GDC are new to just the cloud in general. And what advice would you give to some of these game studios that might be helpful for them as they're learning about navigating the cloud?
Don't be afraid to experiment. One of the things I've said before is experiment safely. Don't necessarily just go dive in with your live data if you're an existing product. But at the same time, you need to experiment, try things, and show people in your own company to get that buy-in and belief that this is a better solution for us than, what they're used to for their whole career. So experiment, iterate. You need to iterate in the tools level the same amount as actually making a game. So that's a big part of it.
Jose, how about you? Thinking about people who are brand new to the cloud and may not yet feel confident with taking steps into cloud development, what advice would you give?
So I think it's important to take a step back and look at the big picture. You've got to think about accessibility. If you want to build for growth, how can you build for growth? A lot of engineers may start small and they think, oh, I got this right. But then if you add double the size, triple the size, external partners. So accessibility is super important, correct? You'll be able to get it. But then how to manage it, manageability of the environment, make sure you have the right access to it. The cloud tools are available for you. You can really manage things. You can scale very easily, spin up, spin down. So that's important. And I would say that probably the most important thing about it is security as well. If you think about security, people say, well, I'm a smart guy. I can control anybody trying to come to my network. But it's not just that. It's just that you want to move the problem outside your perimeter, correct? You want to be able to have your studio operate 24/7 with no issues, have the cloud be a layer of protection beyond your studio.
Shout out for security. I specialize in security in addition to game development. So I'm always, if anyone wants to talk about that later, please find me. What are some areas or factors that you want to emphasize that game studios should consider when they are working with cloud game development and also working with partners in this regard?
I can go ahead and start. Talk to your developers. User satisfaction is something that we don't really talk about a whole lot, but it's actually really, really important. If your developers aren't happy with their workflow, like they're gonna suffer. And through talking about what they're frustrated with, you'll be able to find a lot of opportunities for improvement. So that's usually where my team starts.
Yeah, I'll echo that fully. Like, don't forget who you're doing this for. Like, we run studios, we make video games. I make backends professionally, but at the end of the day, we make video games. So it's about making sure your designers, your artists, people that make the game have what they need. There's a lot of options if you go into the cloud that you can make their lives better, and you shouldn't just be chasing the tech angle of, it's cool to be in the cloud. But why? Like, make it worth your development efforts to be there.
I can't echo it enough. Our end users are our developer teams in a lot of cases. So keeping them happy and finding the solutions, reach out to your partners, hear what solutions they have. Everything we've worked with were things we were working with on premise before, so we already kind of had connections and understanding of how their software worked. But talking, see what your developers need, what will speed up your times.
Yeah, I think from my side, the part that sometimes people forget is that efficiencies are hidden to us, correct? You may be working in your home and you don't know that you could be more efficient. And we have to find ways to instrument our processes, because with that, we learn how to improve our backends, how we improve accessibility of our services, how do we improve our interpretability. Some people may work from home and they have to wait 15 minutes for something. They may not communicate to you. So we have to be smart about that as engineers and figure out, okay, can I instrument those processes to communicate back to the home base, if you want to call it that way, and then see, okay, and then reach out to your developer. Are you having a challenge over here? How can we make you more efficient? Because everybody wants to do a great job. No, I don't think anybody developer that wants to make a game wants to just do a mediocre job. So, but if we can make them do a better job, then that is fantastic.
I'm really glad I asked this bonus question, because so many great insights have come out of that. And if I could just tie this all together as we're closing out, I feel that a huge point that each of you has touched on is the importance of working backwards from your end goals and working backwards from the users who will actually be working in these systems and needing to get work done. I know how easy it is to become focused on one goal, one objective, but I feel that for all of you who are listening to this panel, keep in mind that the more that you can bring in those user stories, those user perspectives and their needs, bring those to your account teams, bring those to your partner teams. We all can work together to make it so that everyone who's working in cloud game development can have the most successful experience possible. So as we're closing out, I just want to give, once again, a huge thank you to all the panelists here. Alex, Nick, Brent, Jose, thank you for your time today. Thank you so much.